Welcome to another video. I'm Lori, and I help people, especially writers, achieve their dreams. Today, we're going to talk about an important subject, procrastination. A lot of people think that's an ugly word, but it's a beautiful word. Why would I say something like that? Because procrastination allows you to explore what is really blocking you, what your issues are, and it gives you a chance or an opportunity at self growth, which I love. And that is what my channel is a lot about. Procrastination, what is it? It is either deliberately or unintentionally avoiding a task. I'm experiencing this right now, and it's a perfect opportunity to share my journey with you because I am full blown in procrastination mode about editing my manuscript. And I have been avoiding this. I have sat down to work on it and find myself getting triggered and looking at social media, anything to avoid doing what I'm actually supposed to do on my manuscript. But why am I doing this? My reason is because I'm avoiding it because I have some difficult decisions to make in my manuscript to make it stronger, and it's going to make it great. But I received my edits back from my editor, and some of them are big changes, such as digging more into their characterization, which I'm all about creating 3D characterization, but I had written that class after I had written this manuscript. Just by teaching a class on it, I had actually learned a lot that I need to go back and apply to my own manuscript. And I thought I was doing these things, but in reality, I can see where my editor is right. She has pointed out some underdevelopment of my characters, and I know exactly where I need to go to fix that. But what I don't know is oftentimes the opening in my manuscripts aren't always the openings that you will see in my books. I hear that's normal. It's definitely normal for me, at least on my last three manuscripts. And it's one of the hardest things because let's say you have to lop off your first two chapters, any pertinent information that happened in those first two chapters has to be woven in elsewhere in my book. And for me, I find that kind of daunting and overwhelming. And therefore, I'm procrastinating the changes because it's not clear to me. I've tried to rewrite the first chapter again, and I've taken another, like chapter three, I try to rewrite it, but it's just not quite working. And I am kind of stuck. So that is my reason for procrastination. So the first one is task avoidance, and know what is triggering you. Like, what is triggering your procrastination? If you know the why, then it's easier to go back and achieve working on whatever it is that you're avoiding. For me, it's social media. I love to do mindless scrolling. I read or heard on a YouTube video, maybe, I don't know where I heard this information, but that you waste 20 years of your life scrolling on social media. Wow. So if you are scrolling for, let's say, 2 hours a day, let's say 20 years off your life, how many books could you have written? Or how many jobs could you, whatever your business is, could you have completed? How many customers could you have found in that time frame? I mean, 20 years is an amazing amount of time. How many of us would love to have 20 years back in our lives to go travel, to be with our friends, to be with our family? Yet we're mindlessly scrolling on social media. I heard another, I guess, meme or something that it said, why is it considered not rude to scroll on social media? Let's say if you're out to dinner or you're out in public and you're with your friends or your family, even date night, I've seen people do this. But why would it be socially okay to do that? And that's debatable. If you pulled out a book and just started reading a book, that would be considered introverted or socially avoidant or something. It just would not be acceptable. But really, what is the difference? I would rather read a book than scroll on social media. But I am guilty of scrolling on social media because that's how I kind of relax in the evenings before I go to bed. I know there's a whole thing about the blue light, is not good for you and can keep you awake. And I'm sure that's true. In fact, that is in one of my videos on how to get a good night's sleep. But I'm guilty of scrolling, or I'll listen to a YouTube video, but I've gotten to where I turn my phone upside down and I just listen to it to avoid that blue light. Just some thoughts. But another trigger of procrastination is fear of failure. A lot of people feel that they have to be perfect, that their writing or whatever job they're doing just has to be perfect, and they're afraid of what people are going to say. Let me say that it is one of the biggest fears or feelings of vulnerability when an author puts her book out there for the first time for people to read. I mean, other than your editors and your beta readers. And even then, it's still vulnerable and quite scary. You hit the send button or you publish a book and people start reading it. They read your thoughts, they read your mind, they read sometimes experiences that you've even gone through. And I try not to read my reviews, but it's really hard not to, but sometimes people don't agree with what you've written or your belief system, and that can be a hard pill to swallow, and a lot of people are afraid of that failure or that fear of rejection. Even sending out your manuscript to an agent or an editor, it's that fear of being rejected is very real. I can send it out and I can have all these feelings about it and feelings of, am I worthy? Is this horrible? Will they like it as much as I do? And I usually notice that it turns out much better than I'm sometimes thinking, or I might love a project and wonder if anybody else will, but you have to believe in yourself. And it is what it is. Your writing is your writing. What you do for your living, that is you. That's a reflection of you. And you have to believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself that what you're doing is okay. And if people don't agree with you, that's okay. They don't have to agree with you. You don't have to convince them. Your feelings and thoughts are yours and yours alone. Therefore, that's okay. Sometimes you'll have to make changes and edits and things like that to polish it. That's a different story. But just believe in your own belief system and stay confident and don't let fear immobilize you, please, because you have a gift. Your job is to shine, to reveal that gift, to help other people. If you can always keep that in mind, then you'll never go wrong. Sometimes procrastination is lack of motivation or self discipline. Am I going to get up early and stick to my schedule that I have planned today? Am I going to show up with my butt in the chair? Am I going to work? Especially if you work at home, some kind of system of having a planner, which this is mine. I have my times written out. I loosely schedule how long I'm going to make a YouTube video, how long am I going to write. Some people say I'm going to write 2,000 words, some people say I'm going to write for 4 hours. Whatever works for you. This is a flexible system, at least for me. I even block in exercise time, which is something kind of new for me. I've always exercised sporadically, but it needs to be important. My dad was in the ICU for 2 weeks. He had a cardiac arrest and he almost met death. I'm choking up. He almost met death twice. And I was not prepared to go to Tennessee and see my father on a ventilator. And it was just kind of shocking to me. He's not in the best health. And I am very conscious of what I say because I have a family member with an eating disorder, but I'll just say he's in a bigger body. And I sometimes genetically take after that. I carry weight in my belly sometimes. I just decided after I saw him lying there in the bed, I thought, I need to take an active role in engaging in exercise and being mindful of movement. It's not to lose weight or anything like that. Again, I'm mindful of people with disordered eating. I think that movement is a great thing because as a writer, I can sit here for 8, 9, 10 hours a day and have uh, very minimal movement. I might get up and wash my dishes. I might put them in the dishwasher, empty the dishwasher, do laundry, things like that. but I'm making a mindful decision to have more movement in my life. So I put that in my planner so that I show up and I do that. Morning time is my best time. That's a good time uh, to move, but that's also a good time to make YouTube videos while I'm alert and awake. It's also a good time for me to write because my mind is clear. So I have three important things that are vying for my attention first thing in the morning. So I haven't quite figured out how to do that. I'm kind of moving my schedule around. But anyway, lack of motivation and self discipline. If you can have a planner and plan out when you're going to tackle whatever it is you're procrastinating, give yourself however much time that you feel is reasonable. But one of my coping strategies for dealing with procrastination is to do it in small chunks. Start small. I don't have to edit my entire manuscript in one sitting or even one chapter. Just block out a sizable chunk of time, but keep it reasonable and achievable. So if I sit down an hour and work on it, if I sit down for 2 hours and work on it, whatever I feel is attainable. I know one of my arguments about going to the gym is I'll just go for 15 minutes. Yeah, right. That's my whole thing. I'll go for 15 minutes. I can do anything for 15 minutes. But whenever I get in there, I like the vibe. I like the music. I like how I feel while I'm there. And that is the whole point of it. It's not exercising so much. It's because it makes me feel good, and I will never stay just for 15 minutes. I'll be there for 45 minutes or I'll be there for an hour. And I always reward myself with hydro bed. It's for, if you don't know what that is, it's this bed that you lay down on. It's like a water bed, and it shoots this powerful water up against you on the inside, and it just massages you. It's wonderful. And I will allow myself the 10 minutes at the end as my reward to do that. Another thing is that sometimes procrastination, it doesn't mean that you're lazy. There's so many reasons for it. It's okay. Just accept that it's okay to have procrastination, but having a way to achieve that roadblock of overcoming that. And sometimes it's even cause for like ADHD, depression, anxiety. Maybe I'm having some kind of anxiety about it, dealing with my manuscript. I don't know. It's very possible. But setting achievable goals and deadlines, I'm going to, in my planner, I'm going to sit down for 1 hour and I'm going to tackle this first chapter and get as far as I can in my rewriting. Have a goal, have a deadline. I'm going to finish my first chapter by the end of the first week. Okay, that's a ridiculously long goal, really, but it's achievable for me, and I will feel good if I achieve it in a shorter amount of time. If I said I'm going to target, I almost said attack, if that isn't revealing, my first chapter, then if I said that I was going to do that one day, that's not achievable, and I'm gonna feel like a failure if I don't achieve it. So make sure that you make a goal that's reasonable, but long enough that you feel good if you show up and you finish it early. Eliminating distractions. I don't take phone calls when I'm writing because it pulls me out of that writer's high. If you're a jogger or runner and you ever experience that runner's high, writing is like that as well. And you kind of get into this flow, and some days the words just come out on the page and they're just brilliant, right? But other times you could just sit there and peck and it's not coming. So I try to take good advantage of the times that the words are just flowing. The last thing I want is to take a phone call and to ruin that because I may not get it back. Also, I try to make, and I know some people disagree with this with the time blocking, but if I'm in a major writing flow and I have something else on my schedule an hour later, I will oftentimes maybe move that to a different time slot. That's not really the practice with mind blocking or time blocking. See, time blocking, but I'm a full time author and I take full advantage of those times where my words are just flowing. And then the last one is reward system. I am a big person on rewards. I will reward myself for things that I achieve. Let's say I fix this whole first beginning of my book. What do I want to do? Do I want to go take a hike with my dog, like a special hike? Do I want to go kayaking on the river? Sometimes it's I'm gonna go to Whole Foods and I'm gonna get this really, really creamy white icing whipped cream cake with the strawberry filling on the layers, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. Whatever makes you feel good and makes you want to achieve your goals, because I had to have a medical procedure yesterday and it was just horrible. And there's all this prep that you have to do. You may know what I'm talking about. But I set my goal that I was going to go to Goodberry's to get a Bing Cherry Concrete. I didn't actually give myself that, but I gave myself something better, and I went, to a Mexican restaurant with my daughter, and we shared Mexican food together and time. That was way better than a Goodberry's Concrete, but I still might treat myself to that, I don't know. Maybe I'll use that for another reward system, but reward systems can really motivate you into achieving your goals, and then when you do that and you're enjoying your reward, you feel so good and it helps increase your confidence and that you have the ability to overcome procrastination and stop it in its tracks. So I hope that helped you. And until next time.